In the murky waters of Louisiana's Calcasieu Lake, something once broke the surface that made fishermen drop their rods and stare. It wasn't a fish. It was a smooth, gliding pink shape, a dolphin, but not like any they'd ever seen. Its color was so bright, it looked like a trick of the light. But it wasn't a trick. This was a real-life pink bottlenose dolphin, and sightings like this are as rare as a perfect roll of snake eyes. This unusual creature isn't just light-colored, it's bright pink from tip to tail. Scientists believe this specific dolphin, often called pinky, is an albino. Albinism in dolphins is incredibly rare. Instead of the usual gray hue, its skin lacks pigmentation, allowing the blood vessels beneath to tint the animal pink. It's not just the skin, either. Pinky has reddish eyes, another telltale sign of albinism. And no, this dolphin isn't painted or edited. Pinky has been photographed and filmed multiple times, becoming something of a local legend. What makes it even more fascinating is how well this dolphin has adapted. You might expect an animal so visibly different to have a harder time surviving. Yet Pinky swims with others, catches fish, and surfaces like any healthy dolphin. It seems unfazed by its celebrity status, though tour boats have followed it around in the past, prompting experts to urge people to respect its space. Albinism in marine mammals like this usually shows up once in a lifetime, if that. So encountering Pinky in the wild is about as likely as spotting a purple squirrel riding a surfboard. It's one of those jaw-dropping things that makes you appreciate just how wildly unpredictable nature can be. If someone ever tells you Pokemon don't exist in real life, just show them a golden brush-tail possum. Found clinging to a tree in Australia, this tiny creature looks exactly like Pikachu, brought to life bright yellow fur, big round eyes, and a face that melts the internet every time it's posted. What gives this possum its electric color isn't magic. It's a genetic mutation that reduces melanin, the pigment responsible for darker shades. Instead of gray or brown like its cousins, it shines in golden tones. These possums are nocturnal and mostly stay out of sight, but every so often one is rescued or spotted in the wild. And when that happens, photos spread fast. In 2020, a baby golden possum found in Melbourne went viral. It was so yellow it looked like it had been photoshopped. Wildlife handlers had to keep it safe, not just from predators, but from human attention too. Golden fur might be beautiful, but it also makes you stand out like a neon sign in the forest. Only a few of these have ever been documented. It's one of those ultra-rare visual flukes that reminds you how nature sometimes throws a curveball one that happens to look exactly like a cartoon icon. At the bottom of the ocean, color usually blends in brown sand, gray rocks, dull shells. That's what makes the blue lobster so shocking. Pulled up from the deep by stunned fishermen, it looks like a crustacean dipped in sapphire paint. But this isn't art, it's a living animal, and only about 1 in 2 million lobsters is born with this vivid electric blue hue. The reason? A genetic mutation that causes an overproduction of a certain protein that interacts with the lobster's pigments. The result is that striking blue armor. Blue lobsters are so rare that when one is caught, it usually gets spared. Some are sent to aquariums or marine sanctuaries where people can gawk at what looks like a creature from a sci-fi movie. They aren't just flashy, they're healthy too. Blue lobsters act just like any other lobster. They crawl along the ocean floor, hide under rocks, and snap their claws with the same speed and strength. Their rarity is purely in the looks. In a world full of gray and camouflage, a blue lobster is like a gem buried in the sea. You don't forget the first time you see one, and most fishermen will tell you they have never seen one at all. Most animals pick a side when it comes to color. They're either vibrant or pale. Cleo, however, didn't choose. This jaw-dropping peacock is split perfectly down the middle. One half pure white, the other bursting with the iridescent blues and greens peacocks are known for. It looks like a real-life optical illusion or a creature stepping out of a fantasy film. Cleo's condition is called bilateral gynandromorphism. It's a rare developmental anomaly where one half of the body is genetically male and the other female, often resulting in a perfectly split appearance. In birds, this can lead to differences in size, behavior, and most strikingly, color. In Cleo's case, it created a walking, strutting masterpiece. Peacocks are already some of the flashiest animals on Earth, but Cleo's unique look puts him in a league of his own. Only a few of these birds have ever been documented, and photos of Cleo are now prized among wildlife photographers and collectors. Seeing an animal that looks like it was drawn with 2 different pens is not just rare, it feels unreal. But Cleo is real, feathers and all, proving that sometimes nature doesn't just do the extraordinary, it does the impossible. At first glance, Venus looks like a trick of Photoshop. One side of her face is solid black with a green eye, the other side is orange with a blue eye. But this cat is 100% real, and she's one of the internet's most famous felines. Her face is split so perfectly it looks painted. The explanation behind her one-of-a-kind appearance lies in something called chimerism. Chimeras are animals with two sets of DNA, basically. They're formed from two embryos that merged into one early in development. That's how Venus ended up with the ultimate split personality right down the center of her nose. Her different colored eyes, known as heterochromia, just add another layer of mystery. Venus lives a normal life, snoozing in sunbeams and purring like any other house cat. But her face has sparked massive curiosity, even among geneticists. Some theories suggest she might not be a true chimera, but simply has the most dramatic natural mosaic pattern ever recorded. Either way, she's a genetic marvel. Thousands of cats are born every day. Only one looks like Venus. That makes her not just unique, but practically mythical. Among all the great apes ever known to science, only one albino gorilla has been officially recorded, and his name was Snowflake. Known affectionately to some as Yeti, he was the crown jewel of Barcelona Zoo for nearly 4 decades. With his soft white fur, pink face, and calm gaze, he didn't just stand out among his kind. He looked like he belonged to a different world altogether. Snowflake was discovered in Equatorial Guinea in the 1960s and brought to Spain, where he became a global sensation. His condition, oculocutaneous albinism, affects pigmentation in both skin and eyes, making him extremely sensitive to sunlight. Despite this, he thrived in his carefully designed enclosure, where he fathered multiple offspring, though none inherited his ghost-like appearance. What made Snowflake especially intriguing wasn't just his color. It was how gentle and composed he appeared. He wasn't wild or aggressive. Visitors described him as thoughtful, expressive, almost philosophical. In a world of black-backed gorillas and dense jungle camouflage, Snowflake stood out like moonlight in a cave. He wasn't just rare. He was singular, a once-in-history creature, remembered not only for how he looked, but for the quiet awe he inspired. In Kenya's Masai Mara National Reserve, a baby zebra trotted onto the plains and immediately turned heads. Instead of the typical black and white stripes, its body was covered in chocolate-colored fur dotted with white polka dots. Rangers had never seen anything like it. They named her Tira, and she became an overnight wildlife star. Tira's unique look comes from a condition called pseudomelanism, which alters the typical zebra pattern. Instead of stripes, her body displays an irregular spotted design. It's extremely rare in the wild. Zebras are naturally designed to blend in with their herd and surroundings, but Tira looked like she had walked straight out of a pop art painting. Photographers rushed in from all over the world, and photos of her quickly flooded conservation pages and nature blogs. Despite concerns that her unusual coat might make her more visible to predators, Tira stayed with her herd and appeared healthy and well-adjusted. Zebras have been admired for their stripe symmetry for centuries, but Tira reminded us that nature sometimes ignores the rule book. She may never look like the others, and that's exactly why she became unforgettable. Most hedgehogs are known for their spiky little armor, but Miguel had none. Not a single quill. This tiny creature was rescued in the UK and quickly became a sensation, not for what he had, but for what he didn't. Miguel had alopecia, a rare condition in wild hedgehogs that caused him to lose all his spines and fur, leaving behind soft pinkish skin and big black eyes. Without his natural defenses, Miguel couldn't be returned to the wild. But under care, he thrived eating well, snuggling under towels, and winning hearts across social media. His smooth look gave him the nickname Naked Hedgehog, and he quickly became a symbol of resilience and charm. Cases like Miguel's are almost unheard of in the wild. Most hedgehogs with this condition wouldn't survive without protection, which is why his story stood out. He didn't look like a hedgehog, he looked like a cartoon experiment gone right. Miguel might not be the image that pops into your head when you think of hedgehogs, but he proved that even without the spikes, some animals still find a way to shine. In the palaces of the Gulf, there exists a creature bred not for farming, but for fame. The angel goat, a rare white goat with an almost sculpted face and perfectly symmetrical features, is considered a living treasure. Draped in gold ornaments, perfumed, and paraded in shows, it's not just livestock, it's royalty. Some of these goats sell for over $100,000 at elite auctions. Their beauty comes from years of selective breeding, turning an ordinary animal into a symbol of wealth and prestige that looks like it stepped out of a fantasy. It's about the size of a hamster, but it looks like something dreamed up by a fantasy artist. Meet the pink fairy armadillo, a shy, nocturnal creature native to Argentina's dry grasslands. With soft white fur, a baby pink armored shell, and spade-like claws made for digging, it spends almost its entire life underground. Few people have ever seen one alive. Fewer still have filmed one. Its back shell isn't just for looks, it regulates body temperature and acts like a built-in heat vent. When the temperature rises, blood flows through the pink ridges to cool off, almost like a natural radiator. And unlike its bigger cousins, this armadillo isn't armored for defense. It's built for stealth. It swims through sand like it's water, vanishing in seconds. Because it's so elusive, scientists still know very little about it. Most knowledge comes from brief encounters or rare rescues. It's so sensitive to stress that even being handled can cause it to dig frantically or shut down. That makes them nearly impossible to keep in captivity and even harder to study. Some call it a living plush toy. Others see it as a biological mystery. Either way, the pink fairy armadillo is one of the rarest mammals in the world, and definitely one of the strangest. White lions aren't albinos. Their eyes are golden, not red. Their noses are dark. But their fur, glowing white like snow under moonlight, comes from a rare recessive gene called leucism. These lions aren't a separate species, but they look like something out of mythology. And for centuries, in the wilds of southern Africa, they were seen as mythical creatures tied to royalty, power, and divine protection. Found almost exclusively in the Timbavati region of South Africa, sightings of wild white lions are extremely rare. Most of them today live in protected reserves or conservation programs. Breeding them in captivity is controversial. The look may be iconic, but preserving genetic health is just as important. That's why ethical conservationists focus on protecting those few white lions still living and hunting freely in the wild. Seeing one in motion, muscles rippling under that pale coat, eyes locked on the horizon, is like watching a dream run through the grass. They move with the same grace and power as any lion, but their coloring makes them unforgettable. Legends say they bring balance to the world. Whether you believe the stories or not, one thing's certain. Seeing a white lion once means you'll never forget it. Not all rare animals grow up. Some appear for just a flicker in time, like Monty, a kitten born in the United States with a single central eye and no nose. His face looked like it came from mythology, a real cyclops. The condition is called holoprosencephaly, and it occurs when the brain fails to divide properly during early development. It's exceptionally rare and even rarer to see it alive, even briefly. Monty lived for only a day, but that day was enough to make headlines. His photo spread across the internet, igniting discussions about genetics, mutation, and the staggering variability of life. No digital editing, no tricks. Just a raw, strange flash of nature doing something unexpected. Even in a world full of oddities, Monty's condition is almost unheard of. Scientists don't often get to study animals like him because the chances of survival, even short-term, are slim. Yet Monty's image has endured, not because of how long he lived, but because of how different he was. He wasn't just a curiosity, he was a reminder of how wildly unpredictable biology can be, a momentary miracle that made the world stop scrolling for just a second. There's a whale out there so white, so huge, and so elusive that spotting it feels like seeing a living iceberg cruise across the horizon. His name is Migaloo, the world's most famous albino humpback whale. First sighted off Australia's east coast in the 1990s, Migaloo became a legend, not just because of his appearance, but because no one had ever seen anything like him before. Albino whales are extremely rare. Humpbacks usually have dark backs and pale bellies, blending into the waves below and the sky above. Migaloo, however, is snow white from nose to tail. His skin reflects sunlight like a mirror, and when he breaches, it's like watching a phantom erupt from the deep. Scientists monitor him closely, using acoustic tracking and visual ID, but sightings are still rare and unpredictable. Each time he's seen, it's a big deal. People rush to the shores with binoculars, boats follow at respectful distances, and marine biologists update his file like he's a celebrity. Migaloo isn't just rare in color, he's rare in presence. A floating mystery that quietly reminds us how much magic is still out there in the oceans, even when you're not looking. High in the snowy forests of Scandinavia, a white shape moves silently between the trees. At first it blends into the landscape, then it lifts its head and you realize you're looking at one of nature's rarest sights, A white reindeer. Not albino, but leucistic. These animals have a recessive gene that drains pigment from their fur, while leaving their eyes dark and healthy. The result? A creature that looks like it stepped straight out of folklore. These white reindeer aren't a separate species. They're born occasionally within normal reindeer herds, and the odds are incredibly low. Some researchers estimate as rare as 1 in 100,000. That makes spotting one in the wild something close to a Nordic miracle. In 2016, a photographer hiking in Norway captured images of a white baby reindeer standing against a pure, snowy backdrop. The photo looked so surreal it was mistaken by many as digital art. In Sami culture, which stretches across the far north of Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Russia, reindeer are deeply symbolic. A white one, when it appears, is considered a good omen. Hunters and herders treat them with quiet respect, knowing how rare and unpredictable such appearances are. They're not tracked. They're not tagged. They roam freely with their darker siblings, disappearing into the winter landscapes like ghosts. In a world filled with camera traps and satellite tags, there are still animals like the white reindeer rare, wild, and absolutely unforgettable. Most animals with extreme genetic conditions don't survive long, but Frank and Louis didn't just survive. He thrived. Born with a condition called diprosopis, or craniofacial duplication, this cat had 2 faces on one head, 2 mouths, 2 noses, and 3 eyes, with the central one always wide open and unblinking. It sounds impossible, but Frank and Louis, yes, he had both names lived a full 15 years, winning hearts and a Guinness World Record in the process. Raised by a veterinary nurse who refused to give up on him, Frank and Louis learned how to eat, purr, play, and lounge like any other house cat. Only one of the mouths functioned fully, and despite his complex anatomy, he never suffered pain or discomfort. His life was carefully monitored, and his daily routine was surprisingly ordinary, curling up on a blanket, staring out the window, following his human around the house. What made him so fascinating wasn't just his appearance, it was how content he seemed. Most Janus cats, as they're sometimes called, don't make it past a few days. Frank and Louis made it to old age. He became a symbol not of mutation, but of endurance and care. Visitors were always struck by his calmness, even elegance. He didn't hiss or hide. He welcomed attention. He wasn't just rare, he was a living paradox. A cat with 2 faces, living one remarkable life. In a quiet backyard in Texas, a routine discovery turned into a natural marvel. A tiny turtle hatched with 2 fully formed heads side by side, both alert, both blinking. It wasn't a toy, it wasn't a hoax, it was real. And each head had its own brain, moving independently and even trying to walk in different directions. For a turtle the size of a cookie, it was making waves around the world. This condition is called bicephaly, and it's as rare as it is mesmerizing. Most animals with this mutation don't survive long, but this turtle, nicknamed Thelma and Louise, defied the odds. It could eat with both heads, stretch both necks, and react to light and sound like any healthy hatchling. Veterinarians examined it closely and found that while the turtle shared one body, its spinal cords branched separately, leading to its 2 distinct minds. The twins quickly became a local sensation. Their photos made the rounds on wildlife pages and science blogs. Watching them try to coordinate or not was like seeing a natural tug of war in real time. One head would try to turn left while the other insisted on right. It was a constant slow-motion negotiation. Cases like this are extremely rare and even rarer to catch on camera. The twin-headed turtle of Texas wasn't just a biological surprise. It was a gentle, living glitch in nature's matrix that had everyone watching in awe. Most snakes blend in brown, green, gray, nature's camouflage. But the lavender albino ball python flips that rule upside down. Its body glows with creamy white and rich purple tones that look almost painted. Its eyes are ruby red, and its smooth coils shine like silk. It's not a creature you'd expect to find in the wild. It looks more like something from a fantasy RPG or a rock band's album cover. This snake is the result of an extremely rare genetic mutation that strips away normal dark pigments while allowing lavender and yellow hues to remain. The result is a morph, a selectively bred variation that's so striking it often sells for tens of thousands of dollars. These pythons are born in controlled environments by expert breeders, and even then, the odds of producing one are slim. It takes years of selective pairing to get just the right mix of genes. Despite their dramatic looks, lavender albino ball pythons are docile, easy to handle, and non-venomous. They're constrictors, meaning they grab and squeeze their prey, Usually small rodents, but they pose no danger to humans. Their calm temperament and surreal appearance make them favorites in exotic pet circles, though many owners say the snake's hypnotic color pattern is what makes them feel like royalty. Seeing one up close is unforgettable. The contrast of soft lilac bands against pale white scales makes them look less like reptiles and more like living jewelry. They're not just rare, they're pure visual gold, wrapped in royal purple. It looks like it came from another planet. Bloated body, tiny pinhole eyes, and shiny purple skin that almost seems to pulse. This is the purple frog, and for most of the year, no one sees it. That's because it lives underground, deep beneath the forest floor of the Western Ghats in India, one of the most ancient and biodiverse mountain ranges on Earth. It only comes to the surface for a few days during the monsoon, just long enough to mate and vanish again into the dark. The purple frog was officially discovered by scientists in 2003, but local tribes had known about it for centuries. Its strange look isn't a deformity, it's a perfect adaptation to a life spent tunneling through soil. Its snout is pointed like a drill, its limbs are short and powerful, and instead of catching insects in the air like most frogs, it slurps up termites underground with a long, sticky tongue. What makes it truly fascinating is its lineage. The purple frog belongs to a family of frogs that split from other modern species over 100 million years ago, back when dinosaurs still ruled the Earth. That makes it a living fossil, a creature that has changed very little over time and managed to survive where others vanished. Most people will never see one in the wild. They're shy, silent, and hidden nature's secret kept safely underfoot. But when they do surface, they remind us that the strangest and rarest creatures are sometimes the ones hiding right below us. That's about it. Which creature surprised you the most? Write in the comments. For more useful information, watch other videos.